We talk about going slow in the dating process and building a slow burn, but what does that actually look like? Today, I'm sharing 10 tips to take things slow in early dating so you can make better decisions that align with what you want and need in a relationship. Let's do it. Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia, I'm a dating coach, and I'm sharing no nonsense advice for navigating modern dating with confidence and ease, whether you've been on dozens of dates or you're just getting started. I believe dating can be fun. I talk a lot about the slow burn and why it's better than a relationship that starts with a bang. And why? Because usually, not always, but usually, the ones that start with a bang, like a huge fire, a lot of chemistry, tend to fizzle out faster. When you control the pacing a bit more and get out of the fast lane, you have more time to make decisions that align with your dating goals, and you know you can avoid missing your exit. This episode is really for the folks who tend to rush the process or keep meeting people who want to rush the process. These are the daters who just can't wait to get to the next milestone and the next milestone. The people who feel anxiety about defining the relationship, but you haven't even seen their place yet or discussed your dating goals. If you're someone who tends to move really slow in relationships and you're self conscious about it, this episode will help you be more conscious about your decisions and guide you through what to reflect on each step of the way. And if you're someone who tends to move really fast, this episode is going to help you slow things down. And look, there is no right pacing, okay? There are no rules here. Your relationship trajectory will look different than other people's, and that's okay. There's no like step one, step two, step three. It's all good. In my personal experience, and through talking with and helping hundreds of daters, it's clear that taking it slow has more benefits than rushing the process, which is why I'm talking about it. I think we can save ourselves a lot of pain, anxiety, and stress when we slow down a little bit. So let's get into it. What is taking it slow? Taking it slow is staying present and enjoying the process of getting to know each other while embracing some uncertainty and not rushing into a relationship for the sake of perceived security. That's part of why we do it, right? Dating is unstable, it feels out of control. Rushing into a relationship feels like a way to skip over that some uncertainty. It's uncomfortable, but it rarely ends up working out. Taking it slow is sitting in that discomfort and uncertainty while getting to know the other person. And as you get to know someone slowly, you give the relationship space to breathe. You give yourself time for reflection, which is really important if you're someone who usually gets wrapped up in all the banter and chemistry and flirtiness early on. You need time to stop and think if this is how you want to feel, if they're treating you the way you want to be treated, and if you like them, all that stuff. And you really need time to see how you feel, especially if you haven't been in a healthy, secure relationship yet. And I'm not saying don't trust yourself. It's just that if you keep going at the pace that you've gone at before, like really fast, it's worth trying something new. Going slow also looks like integrating them into your life more slowly. We've talked about integration in a recent episode about early relationships, but basically, going slow looks like letting them earn their place in your life. Like, there's a reason why we don't go from 0 to 60 with texting and seeing people right away because they're still strangers. They have to earn that. So, this episode is going to walk you through how to do all this. Why is it important? So, going slow means being more intentional and conscious with your decisions. Seriously, you'll make decisions that support your mental health and align with your goals instead of just shooting from the hip or letting all your emotions drive every decision in the heat of the moment. When we rush, we miss a lot of information. Like we miss the red flags, we miss incompatibilities, we miss signs that they're not interested, we miss signs that we're not interested in them. Going slow gives you space and time to reflect on everything. All right, here are the 10 tips. One, don't text a lot before the first dates or in between early dates, like those first couple. And this is one of the rules, like actual rules I think daters really need to follow. And this is doesn't really count for long distance dating. This is for like in real life dating, but it kind of counts for long distance dating too. And I will get into that. When you have a date set with someone, like the first date, when you have the time, the place, everything, stop texting them. You have nothing else to talk about until your date. You can check in, you can confirm the date, but don't get to know them. Don't ask them what they're doing throughout their day. They're a stranger. You don't care yet. Like, you will save all that stuff for the date. Because what ends up happening is when we're texting a lot, like texting frequently before we even meet someone, we start to gain a false sense of intimacy, right? You're sharing details about your day, you're sharing details about your life. You're like, oh, I'm getting to know this person. It's going so well. But it's not real yet until you've met them. Another reason is text chemistry does not always translate into in real life chemistry. You can have amazing banter with someone through texting and then meet them in person, and it's really bland and dry, and it's like a whole different person. Part of that is because people can edit their texts. You can be funnier through texting. Like you have time to edit what you're going to say and think about a response. You don't have to respond in real time like you do in a conversation. So people can come off however they want through text because they have time to think about it. If you're long distance, the same rule kind of applies. Obviously, you don't have the luxury of just being able to get to a date quickly. So instead of a date, you are FaceTiming instead of texting. So the sooner you can arrange a FaceTime, like, or a phone call, right? Anything where you're talking in real time, like you don't have time to, like, you don't have to wait for them to reply, right? Because you're talking in real time. That's what you want to go for. Save the getting to know you stuff for the date. Don't ask deep questions over text. Don't talk about what you're looking for over text. Save it all for in person. Trust me. If you text a lot before the first date, you are going to, that's speeding up the process. And we don't want to do that. We want to take things slow. And by the way, if the person is texting you a lot and you don't want to text them a lot, what you can say is, I'm really glad you want to chat. Let's save all this for the date. Also, you don't have to match their frequency. You can text at your own frequency. And I've talked about this in a few different podcasts. I will link them in the show notes. I think the boundaries one and the texting one-on-one episodes have more information on this. All right, the second tip, space out your dates. Some of you are already doing this because you're really busy or you have kids or you just have a lot going on or they don't live near you. So this tip is really for people who you live near each other, you have a lot of time to see each other and you're really into each other, but you need to pump the brakes. So a really good cadence for early dating is 2 dates a week at most. So one on the weekend and one on a weeknight if you can. Once a week is also good. Once every other week is fine too. As long as it's consistent in some way, that's what you're going for. Again, it depends on your schedule. I'm sure some of you listening are thinking like, "Oh my gosh, 2 dates a week, I can't do that." That's fine. Focus on what you can do. And remember, you have the opportunity to FaceTime. So if you're having trouble, like if this is kind of things can go too slow, right? So if you're not able to even see each other, but you want to keep the momentum, FaceTime, phone call. Don't wait a month between dates if you're into them. You know what I mean? So if someone is ignoring this rule, they haven't heard this podcast and they're trying to see you a lot during the week, you are in control. You can say no. You can offer other times to see them. You can say, "Hey, I don't make last minute dates. I'm free on Thursday." You suggest a future date to hang out. You don't have to match them. You don't have to say yes to everything. You can say no and you can control the pace this way. And the reason you want to space out your dates a little more, again, is so that this is literally taking it slow. Like you are spreading the dates out. So you are controlling the pace a little bit more versus if you see each other. Like some people message me and be like, I saw them every night for a week and then they ghosted. It's like, yeah, you went way too fast. At least when you go slow, it's going to be a lot less painful if they ghost, if they decide they change their mind, if they're going back to their ex, whatever. Whereas if you spent 5 nights a week with someone you just met and then all of a sudden their ex shows up, you're going to feel a lot more pain. So that's part of why going slow is so important. All right, third tip, remember how long you've known this person. And this tip is more for meeting people online or meeting people randomly. This is not really for like dating in your friend group or dating coworkers, people you've known for a while. This is more for dating strangers. And this is more of a mindset thing. Part of taking it slow is a mental practice, right? Because you can speed things up in your brain by future tripping yourself basically by like thinking about the future. So if you find yourself mentally mapping out the future with someone or getting really feeling like, oh my god, I've met the one after one date, you've got to snap back to reality and remember how long you've known them, which is usually like a couple days to maybe a month at this point. Remember that this person has only had a very short amount of time in your life. You need to keep the amount of time you've known them equal to like how you're feeling about them. You know what I mean? So it's like if you've known someone for a week and you feel like you're in love, something's off. So you're filling in the gaps in your brain. And that's kind of the next tip. So when you find yourself mentally jumping ahead, just be like, wow, I've only known them for a week. Oh, you know what? I've only known them for 2 weeks. I probably need to learn more about them before I really know if we have a future. All right, fourth tip, kind of got into this already, but recognize the stories you are telling yourself about them. So when you are getting to know someone, you don't have a lot of information because you just don't know them. You don't really know how they operate, what they think about, their view on certain things, their values. Like you are in the process of learning these things. So there's a lot of gaps to fill with your assumptions, your stories, your projections, your hopes, all the things. You've got to keep that in check. Like if you're thinking about someone you're dating and you're like, wow, like they're so great for all these reasons, fact check yourself. Do you actually know these things, or are these things that you're projecting or hoping for? And our brains love to do this. I don't know why, but they do. Like it's easy to just get carried away thinking about all the potential and like, oh, they love to be outdoors. We're going to go on so many camping trips together. Like, oh, they're so close to their family. We're going to like be all cozy with their family. You don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. You've got to stay present. Stay present and focus on what you do know about them and keep asking yourself if with the information you absolutely have, do you still like them? All right, the fifth tip is lean hard into your hobbies, friends, self care, and whatever you enjoy when you find yourself really spun out over someone. So, if you tend to obsess or spiral or just get like really into someone and they kind of take over your whole brain really early on, you need to be your own parent and you need to direct your attention and energy to the things that fill you up outside of dating. So whatever that looks like for you, your exercise, your social life, self-care, hobbies, there's this like joke going on TikTok and Instagram that when you get a crush, that's when you start volunteering. I think there's some truth to that. Like if you want to take things slow, you've got to fill your life up so you're not just dedicating all your energy to this one person who you just met and you barely know. Don't lose yourself. Also, having hobbies and having a social life and pouring energy into yourself makes you more attractive. Just saying. Not saying that's why you should do it. It's just like a fun little, bonus effect of filling your cup with the things that you love outside of dating. And when you have your social life, your self-care, your hobbies, all these things in your schedule, it does force you to go slower a little bit because you can't see them every day. You can't talk to them all the time. All this supports having a slower pace in dating. Real quick, before we keep going on to the rest of the tips, I just want to let you know that you can watch these episodes on YouTube. You can find my YouTube channel down in the show notes, or you can Google Dating Intentionally YouTube and you will find me. Also, if we're not connected on Instagram, you can follow me there at dating.intentionally. I love hearing from you. And if you're not on social media, if you're not on YouTube, you can email me at datingintentionallypod@gmail.com. I love hearing from you. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to hear on this podcast, and let me know how it's helped you. All right, tip number 6, check in with yourself. We love self reflection on this podcast. It is so helpful. You've got to make this a practice. So, if you want to take things slower in the dating process, part of this is taking time to reflect. And when I say taking time to reflect, you actually have to do it. So, that could look like journaling. It could look like doing this with your therapist or a dating coach if you have one. You're going to have moments when you get to know someone that are going to be confusing, frustrating, or just painful. And instead of acting like quickly, like shooting from the hip, like I said earlier, that's a time where you want to reflect, pause, practice the pause, and think about what you want. Think about how things are going. Make sure you're zooming out, focusing on the facts and not the stories. And it doesn't matter how you do this. Like, there's so many ways to check in with yourself, like checking in with your body, how you feel when you're with them, how you feel when you're not with them, how you feel when you're thinking about them, what's going on in your body. You can also reflect mentally, like writing down your thoughts after a date, before a date. This will help you stay grounded in how you actually feel about someone, what you actually think. And I think in dating, a lot of us are so focused on what the other person is experiencing, what the other person is thinking, that we forget to focus on what we want and how we feel and prioritize that. So, this is that moment where you're going to prioritize these things. What do you want? How do you feel? How do you want to feel? Figure that out first. And that will help you slow things down a lot because you can't it's if you're going really fast with someone, if you're just thinking about the next milestone and how they're feeling and what the next step is, you're gonna miss this, and you might miss something really important, some important information about how you feel about them. All right, the 7th tip is stay present and don't focus on milestones ahead. So this is a theme of this episode is, stay in the reality, stay in the now, don't worry about the future problems because they don't even exist yet. What is happening now? Do you have another date set up? How did you feel on the last date you had? Are you guys chatting? What is happening in this moment? Are you excited to get to know them? How are they making you feel? Are you enjoying talking to them and being with them? Or is it draining you? Is it boring? These are the questions we focus on, not like, oh no, they said they might want to live in France in 3 years. Like, that's not a problem you have to worry about right now because you're not even in a relationship with them. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to, if your brain is going to present you with problems that don't exist yet, you've got to be like, you know what? Let's put that aside and let's focus on how we feel right now. That is the pattern I want you to create in your mind. Like when something pops up that's a future problem, you literally don't have the answers right now. There is no point in thinking about it or worrying about it. Like, you know what? That's a future me problem. We'll cross that bridge if we get there because I'm not even in a relationship with this person yet. I don't even know them that well. How do I feel right now? All right. The eighth tip is wait to have sex. And when I say sex, however you define sex, wait to have it if you lean anxious. This one is absolutely not a rule. You can sleep with someone whenever you want in the dating process, truly. Like do whatever you want. But if you know from your personal history and experience that things tend to get wonky and emotional and difficult and frustrating if you sleep with someone too early, then maybe it's better to wait. Again, this is about reflecting on your past patterns and doing something different in the future to have a different outcome. So this is something you can test out, by the way. If you are someone who consistently sleeps with the person they're dating on the third date, just wait to see what happens if you wait till date 5. You don't have to do this every time. You can experiment and see how it feels. It might feel better. You might actually feel more secure in the dating process if you wait. Because sex can speed things up, right? Sex is a form of intimacy where basically you are getting physically intimate with someone before you are emotionally intimate with them. And it's like I've seen this quote floating around on Instagram, like, if you can get naked with someone, but you can't tell them how you feel, you're going too fast. And I agree. I think if you are literally doing an intimate act with someone like sex, and then you're too scared to say how you feel, there's something off there that you need to pay attention to. I want you, like, I don't think there's a rule about when to have sex. I think what needs to be present is that that they want the same thing as you, right? You know that they also want a relationship. You know that you want to have a relationship with them, and you're pretty sure that they want to be in a relationship with you. Just because you wait doesn't mean it's going to all pan out and everything will be perfect, but at least then you won't be as blindsided in a way. Like you can wait until you are sure of these things, like, or more sure of these things, versus you jump into bed with someone and then the next day they realize they're like, oh, actually, I changed my mind. Obviously, that can still happen, but it's less likely to happen when you go slow because you have more time for that emotional intimacy to develop. You have more time to feel close with them on other levels before jumping right to the physical level, which does speed things up, but it's not in a good way at all. And by the way, I'm saying this as someone who regularly had sex with people on the first date or second date or third date. And I had to slow things down because what would happen to me is I'd have sex with someone and then I would be uninterested immediately. I needed to have feelings for someone to want to keep going after sex. And that was just what I learned. So I learned to wait, until at least 5 to 10 dates, right? That was where I waited. And by the way, just because you wait to have sex, however you define it, doesn't mean you can't enjoy physical intimacy in other ways. Like maybe for you, kissing and making out isn't as much of a deal. It's not gonna make you feel immediately closer to someone if you kiss them or hug them or hold their hand or like give them a little shoulder rub. You know what I mean? There are other ways to experience physical intimacy with someone without having sex or however you define that, right? Without going to a point where like, wow, I gave myself physically to them, if that's meaningful to you. So just keep that in mind. You can go slow. You don't have to go from having never kissed them before to having sex in the same day. You can go slow, take it step by step. It also makes it easier to communicate about sex before you have it because if you're rushing into sex, where is the time you're going to talk about STIs or like preferences or boundaries or anything like that? You've got to take things slow, build that trust so you can have those conversations. All right, tip number 9. Show interest, but keep it in check. Again, going slow is about remembering how long you've known them and aligning that amount of time with how you are acting with them, how you're interacting with them. It's like if you've only known someone for a week and then you're saying I love you, that's not doing that, right? So you can show interest in someone without showing all of your interest. You don't need to go all out on that, right? So here's an example. Let's just say you're talking to someone you've been on like 4 or 5 dates and you are just really feeling them. Like you're really into them, it feels super good. You can be like, "I'm really enjoying getting to know you." Instead of being like, "I've never met anyone like you," which is way more intense. So keep it in check. I highly recommend listening to my episode on love bombing. I'll link that in the show notes because that also goes way deeper into showing genuine interest that is more aligned with where you're actually at in a relationship or early dating process versus like just completely letting go of reality and just laying it on really thick when you hardly know them. And you don't have to withhold your interest. You don't have to like, keep your cards close to your chest or play hard to get. You can show interest if you're interested in them without laying it on too thick or love bombing unintentionally or anything like that. There's a spectrum here, right? And the 10th tip is be the chooser. And I've alluded to this a few times, but being the chooser looks like asking yourself if you like them every step of the way. Every new date, every new interaction is new information. And this is something that trips people up all the time. It's like, "Oh, well, on the first date, they opened the door for me and they were so nice and they paid for it and all these things. And now they're not texting me back." And it's like, "Okay, we can't only focus on the first date. We have to also look at the new information that they're not texting you back." So being the chooser is taking account all the information you have about them and how they're treating you and deciding if you like it. It's not just focusing on the good, it's not just focusing on the bad, it's all of it. So, if you wanna go slow in this process, you've got to ask yourself, "Do I like this? Do I like them? Is this what I want every day?" And if you tend to be someone who sees more the negatives in people, try to find the positives, right? You've gotta know your own tendencies here too when you are the chooser. And if you tend to ignore red flags, think more critically, right? Don't let things slide. So, this is about knowing yourself, knowing what you need and want, and asking yourself every single day when you're dating, is this aligned with what I need and want? And if I don't know, what do I need to do to figure that out? Because when we're rushing the connection, we're not being the chooser. We're just like letting it all happen we're just taking our hands off the wheel, right? And letting them drive the car and letting them just kind of take over the pacing. No, you have a say here. All right. And here's a bonus tip. And this tip doesn't work for everyone, but it is one of my favorite tips for taking it slow, and that is date multiple people. I have 2 episodes dedicated to how to date multiple people before commitment. This is not cheating. This is just in the early dating phase, the talking stage when you're just getting to know someone and you're not in a committed relationship yet. So this is another way to take it slow. I think what I talked about earlier, about leaning into your hobbies and social life and self-care is another way to do this. But like if you're dating multiple people, you don't have time to see someone every day because you are filling your calendar up with other dates. So there are other ways, there are many ways to fill up your calendar and be busy and have a life. You don't have to fill up your calendar with dates, but it can help. Also, this works well for daters who have a schedule open enough to do this. Like not everyone can talk to multiple people and date multiple people, which I totally get. But if you do want to try it, I say go for it. You can check out my episodes on this where I talk about how to do it and why it helps you take it slow. But basically, it helps you slow down because when you are entertaining multiple options, you see that you don't have to go with the first person who's like kind of nice to you. You can be the chooser. All right, so I'd love to hear from you. Which of these tips you think you'll try next time you are in the early stages of dating someone? You can DM me on Instagram at dating.intentionally or shoot me an email, datingintentionallypod@gmail.com. So there are a couple other tips I want to get into when it comes to taking it slow. So what do you do when you hear your date say, "I want to take it slow," or "I'm just figuring things out," or "let's just see where it goes"? When we hear that from our date, sometimes it's like, "Oh, what does that mean?" Like kind of red flag. But I don't want you to freak out and jump to the conclusion that they don't want a relationship. Sometimes when people say, "I want to take it slow," it's because they're intentionally trying to break a pattern or be more conscious of their decisions as a reaction to painful past experiences in relationships. That's very relatable. It doesn't automatically mean they're trying to waste your time or drag you into a situationship. So just When in doubt, ask for clarity and explore what slow means to them and what slow means to you. And on that note, how do you communicate that you want to take it slow? So there are two levels to this. And the first level, which is where you should start, is by setting the pace with your actions. If they invite you over to their place after date 1, don't go. You don't have to say I'm trying to take it slow. You just say no. Right? You just don't do that. Your actions will speak for themselves and there's no, when you if you don't say it, if you just do it, there's no room for negotiation. If they're pushing you to do something you're not ready to do, you just say no. If they're texting you a ton, you don't have to match their energy. You can text them at a pace you feel comfortable with. If they want to hang out with you one day after you had a date, you can decline and offer another date because you can control the pace. Of course, telling someone, verbally communicating that you want to take it slow is also an option, but you need to be able to follow through on that. As a person who says they want to take it slow, you need to be able to do that. You can't tell someone that and expect them to just know what you mean and match your tempo. You need to take action to control the pace that you want. So you can tell them why you want to take it slow if you want. You can say you're trying to date more intentionally and not rush into things because that's what you've done in the past. And if they have a big emotional reaction to this, very reasonable boundary, that's a red flag. So why do we trip up? Why is this so hard? We can talk about it all day long, but in practice, it's just hard. And I think it's tough because we get so excited when we finally find someone we like, and it makes sense. We when we connect with someone on a level that we're craving, we just wanna go, like, pedal to the metal, right? And each milestone brings this sense of security, but it's also a false sense of security when you don't have enough trust built up in the foundation of your relationship. Like, trust takes time. Getting to know someone takes time. And I know there's a lot of pressure because we just want to get there, but dating is one of those things where it's all about the journey and not the destination. I know it's so hard to put that in practice. And another reason we trip up is because we want that instant gratification. Like a lot of us just want to skip the entire dating process and just get to the good part in quotes. But the foundation of your potential relationship gets built from date 1. Early dating is part of the good part, even though it's challenging and it's uncomfortable and there's so much uncertainty. And that's why I have this podcast. I'm trying to teach you how to enjoy the process instead of hating it to the point where you just wish you could skip it. I get it. But let's make it fun, right? Let's actually learn to enjoy this process and sit with that uncertainty and be okay with it. That's a really big part of taking it slow, too. You've got to be okay with not knowing if it's going to work out or not because you've got to explore it. We're going to get into some dating dilemmas, but real quick, if this episode is helping you, if any of these episodes are helping you, it would help me so much if you rate this podcast on Apple. So if you are an iPhone person, you can open up the Apple Podcast app right now, go to my show, Dating Intentionally, and you can scroll down. There's a spot to leave 5 stars and write a review if you want, but even just honestly tapping the 5 stars will help me a lot. So thank you so much. Okay, dating dilemmas. Thank you so much for submitting these dating dilemmas. I really appreciate your vulnerability. And when you share what you're going through, it helps other daters feel less alone. So thank you so much. You could submit your dating dilemma in the show notes below. All right. I, 26 female, am currently single but dating around. I really like getting gifts and treats and flowers every now and then from the person I'm dating. I enjoy being spoiled from time to time and being taken on nice dates, but I'm happy with the low budget dates as well. Please don't take any of this to mean that I'm materialistic and obsessed with monetary value of things because that is not the case. I just like knowing the person I'm dating is thinking of me and noticing the little things I like. For example, getting my favorite flowers or my favorite candy to surprise me out of the blue. My problem is, how do I bring this up to the person I'm dating? I know times are tough for everyone right now and that money is tight for a lot of people. So, how do I mention that I like getting flowers or little gifts without sounding greedy or entitled? I don't want my partner to feel like I expect them to always spend money on me 24/7. So, just looking for the best way to potentially bring this up in early dating or when entering a new relationship would be great. So first off, I just want to say you are allowed to like what you like. You're allowed to want small, thoughtful gifts, and that's not too much to ask. I don't think you're greedy or entitled for wanting this. There are a lot of different ways to give and receive love, and this happens to be a way you like to receive love, and that's fine. You've got to accept this about yourself. You've got to let go of this worry of sounding greedy and entitled. That is your own projection onto what this preference is for you. So that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is, if you want to bring this up, I would ask your date what makes you feel loved and appreciated. And then after they answer, you have an opportunity to talk about this. And I think you've got to own this and be direct and be like, I feel so insanely loved, and it makes me so happy when my partner brings home my favorite candy or like some flowers from the grocery store. It doesn't have to be expensive, just something that I really like. It just makes me feel so special. And who wouldn't want to make you feel that way? If someone has an issue with this, they're probably not your person. And I know this from experience because my version of this is words of affirmation. I would say compliments and like just words of love go over the long way for me. And when I asked my ex for these things, he had a huge issue with it. And he was like, I don't get it. I don't understand. He's just not the person for me. Like he just wasn't it. And that's okay. Like some people might not get it and they just might not be your person. You wanna find someone who's like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense, like, sure, I can do that." The thing that you've gotta watch out for, though, is that your partner isn't a mind reader, so you do need to explicitly be like, "I love violets," or whatever it is, or "I really love peanut M&Ms," and, you can't just hope they get it right without telling them. But let's just say you're out and about with your date. You can get really excited about things you like, you can let them know, "Oh my god, this is my favorite candy," like, if you're going to the movies, like, "Oh my god, we need to get this candy." And all or when you see flowers at the farmer's market, like, get really excited about what you like so they know, they see it. Like, "Wow, she gets really excited about these flowers." Another thing you can do is lead by example. So, we often like to give love in the way we like to receive love, so get them flowers, get them candy, get them all the things that you like as well. And I'm not saying this is a way to drop a hint, but this is a way to kind of lead by example and show them, "This is what I like," and you know, it will just be a good clear sign if I'm like, "Oh, she does this for me, maybe I can do this for her too." But you still have to say it. And last thing I wanna say is you don't know how they're gonna feel, right? It's worth bringing up. Don't worry about them thinking that you're greedy or whatever words you used. That is your own projection. Let them feel how they feel. Just say it and just see what happens, see what their reaction is. Don't anticipate that they're gonna immediately be like, "Wow, she's so materialistic." What if they're like, "Wow, that makes me too." Like, "Oh, I like receiving love that way too." That would be so great. So, that's my advice. I hope this helps. Thank you for sharing this. Oh, and the last thing I wanna say is just to reiterate, you've gotta ask for what you need specifically. So, to anyone listening, maybe this isn't your thing, but you're trying to get something else that, from your partner, you've got to be explicit. You can't just be like, "They should know to get me flowers." No. Tell them exactly what kind of flowers you like and set them up for success. When we do holidays and birthdays here in my relationship, I email Johnny with brands I like or products I like, and he gets to pick one, and I'm not disappointed, and he gets me a gift. He doesn't have to worry about it. It's amazing. I don't want him to have to, like, struggle and do all this research and get something I ultimately don't like, you know? Set your partner up for success. All right, here is the second one. I, 27 female, am struggling to deal with the lack of physical affection from my 29 male partner. We just started dating and quickly found out we both struggle with GAD and ADHD. By the way, GAD is generalized anxiety disorder. Yeah, okay, got that right. My partner is very reassuring, caring, and emotionally available on every level. However, I have more anxious attachment style, and I'm a firm believer in behavior is a language. With that being said, my partner is not the most affectionate. I feel like I initiate 90% of all the kisses, hugs, hand holding, sex, etc. I have talked to him about this, and he reassured me that just because he isn't always touchy feely, it doesn't mean he has a lack of interest or a lack of feelings for me. Deep down, I believe him. But after a while, I'll let it go. But then my anxiety starts spiking if I haven't gotten any physical touches from him in a while. My mind is telling me he doesn't have feelings for me or isn't sexually attracted to me. In all honesty, it isn't that big of a deal since he meets my needs that actually matter regularly on a more emotional level. So why does my anxiety keep doing this even though I logically know it isn't a deal breaker? Is my body lying to me or is it something I'm going to have to learn how to accept and work with since he is right for me in every other way? Thanks. This is from Miss Recovering Codependent. Thank you so much for this question. I really relate to your situation. I had dealt with this a lot in my last relationship, especially with the physical stuff. And I wanted to share some of the advice that worked for me. But I also want to say that, like, you can try this advice I'm going to give to you, and it still might not work, but it's still worth a try. So, we all have roles in relationships that we need to accept. right? It's never really going to be 50-50. Like nothing's truly 50-50. And if your role in the relationship is like you initiate physical stuff, then try accepting that that is your role, right? That is what you are going to be in charge of because he doesn't need it as much and he's not as touchy feely, whatever. And that isn't, again, like, this, him, he is just not a touchy feely person. It's not like he would be more touchy feely with a different partner. He just isn't. He's going to show up that way in every relationship. And same with you. You are going to show up this way in any relationship with anyone. So, like, for example, hypothetically, if you broke up and you started dating someone else, you could still have this issue. Like, it is not necessarily something that has to do with him. And I think you know that. So, my question is like, do you want to feel desired by him initiating, or do you want the feeling of physical touch? It's like the same question comes up. It's like they're not asking me out on a date, and it's like, okay, do you want them to ask you out, or do you actually want to spend time with them on a date? Like, what is your desired outcome? And it's okay if you want to feel desired, right? That's okay. And it's, but if you are really just craving the physical touch, can you accept that you are going to be the one initiating it when you need it because you need it more than your partner? And can you accept that your partner will provide it to you when you need it, but you need to ask first or initiate first? Again, this is all neutral stuff. This isn't good or bad. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, actually, no, I do want to feel desired, that's fine. We all deserve to feel desired in our relationships. So my question is, does he show you desire in other ways? Could him just reciprocating even after you initiate be a form of showing you desire? The fact that if you initiate sex and he's like, yeah, let's go, that's also a form of desire. You know what I mean? Like, so can you see other ways he's showing that he desires you, even if he is not the one initiating physical touch? That's what my therapist advised me to do when I was having this issue in my last relationship, and it really helped because all of a sudden I opened my eyes and I was like, wow, this guy is actually showing me affection in so many ways that I wasn't paying attention to because I was so focused on the one way he was not showing me affection. It helps me in my current relationship too, like opening my eyes to more than just what I really, really, really want. Like, my fiance is not the biggest word person, and he doesn't necessarily initiate like compliments and like nice things, but he does say, it's like he does good enough, right? It's like, what is the level of good enough that your partner can do where you'd be happy? Another question is like, does he have room to initiate touch, or are you constantly going for it? Like, do you ever step back and let him initiate sex, or let him initiate a hug? That's another question I'd have for you. Because sometimes, without us realizing, we tend to leave the other person no room to step forward and give us what we're looking for. I hope this helps. Again, I really appreciate your question. I think this is a really relatable issue. It happens in a lot of relationships, and you are not alone. I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for trusting me. I hope this episode helped you really figure out how to take it slow. And I hope you picked up at least one thing you can try in your next early dating situation to slow down the pace. Don't forget, you're doing great. I'd love it if you share this episode with someone who is navigating dating and might need a little confidence boost or some tough love. If any of these episodes have helped you in your journey, you can help me by leaving a stunning review on Apple or giving Dating Intentionally 5 stars on Spotify. I'd really appreciate it. Once again, I'm Talia. This has been Dating Intentionally, and I'll see you on Friday.